Does a happy, functional family exist? Or is it just an illusion? Could it be that we cannot be happy if we are doing everything that the society wants us to do? Visitor Q, one of the most psychologically and visually disturbing movies you'll ever watch. Why? Let me give you an introduction. Visitor Q is a Japanese movie about a family of four. But this is not our usual family that we think of. It's a very dysfunctional family.
すみません、試合にも何でもありません。我が家にいます。皆さん見てください、これをご覧ください。すごいです、すごいです、すごいものになってます。この包丁は女房です。皆さん、これです。もう私はどんな感情なのか、父親として。
We've got the dad who gets turned on by violence and taboo. And what I mean by turned on, I mean sexually turned on. So he's channeled his urges into making violent and taboo and sexual movies. We've got the mum who is a drug addict and injects herself. We've got the son who beats up his mum and gets bullied at school. And we've got the daughter, the teenage daughter, who has run away from home and is a prostitute. At the start of the movie, we are introduced to a visitor who enters the family's home. We don't really get to know much about him, but he tends to be Visitor Q. Now, let's go through some of the visually and psychologically disturbing scenes of this movie. Here are only some of the examples. Let's start with the first scene. So, in the first scene, we see the daughter who happens to be in a hotel room, and I guess that would be part of her job as a prostitute or a sex worker. And we see a man with a camera filming her. We learn that this is the dad. So he's there filming her, filming his own daughter, and his daughter, coming from the line of work that she's in, she treats him like any other client, and she actually works on enticing him into having sex with her. At the end of the act, the sexual act or the intimacy, the intercourse that they have, she then treats him like any other client and charges him for the service that she has provided for him. We'll come back to this scene and talk more about why this is a disturbing scene. There are many other disturbing scenes in this movie. For example, the scene where the son is torturing his mom. He's psychologically and physically torturing her. He's beating her up.
続けなよ。俺のこと無視してていいから。遠慮するなよ。やれよ。
なんで CM が入ってんだよ。ビデオの前にさ、操作しろって言ったよ。してんだよ、バカ。ごめんなさい。
じゃあ私先に寝ますから。
おやすみなさい。
すみません。
Perhaps the most disturbing part of this movie is Visitor Q himself. Although he does not do much in this movie, it's how indifferent he is to the whole family dynamic. He's anything but us, the viewer. As a viewer, you constantly perhaps have the urge to do something about this family, to help or stop them from doing whatever they're doing. You constantly question, why do they stay in this dynamic? Why do they tolerate? Why do they do X, Y, and Z? Visitor Q does not do any of that. He is just indifferent. In fact, he helps each family member by bringing out their uniqueness or their weirdness. For example, the mother produces milk. She does not know this, and he helps her by squeezing her breasts to make her see that she can produce milk. So she basically, when he does squeeze her breast, she squirts out milk. Now, this is very unusual because women do not produce milk unless they're pregnant or breastfeeding. It's very unusual for a woman to still produce milk. And he shows her that she can do that, and she finds so much pleasure in this that she just cannot stop doing it then herself. But what's interesting is that at first glance, it may seem like this is a sexual act. Perhaps this is what we're taught, in our society, that if a man is touching a woman's breast, it must be sexual, because why else would he squeeze a woman's breast? But if we look at this scene, or take a closer look at this scene, we will notice that Visitor Q is sitting behind the woman, or the mother, and as he is squeezing her breast and she is taking pleasure into this, perhaps not sexual, or maybe is sexual, we don't know at this point, he is, again, as usual, indifferent to this. He's sitting behind her and he doesn't seem to be turned on, or at least we don't see him being turned on. He's fully clothed and he's squirting the milk away from himself. So it's going into the room. He doesn't want anything to do with it, as if he doesn't want anything on himself. So again, that could be the reason that is quite disturbing, but at the same time brings a lot of question for us. Why is he doing this? Is it sexual? Is it not? And in a later scene, the mother shows Visitor Q that she can squirt her own milk. So she starts to squeeze her breast and she's showing him. And again, we see him sitting down with an umbrella. So as she's squirting her milk, he is stopping himself from getting wet by the milk. Again, it's a very unusual scene. We've got to remember this is a very unique movie, very unusual. It's not anything that we've seen before. To me, that indicates that it's not a sexual scene again, that at least from Visitor Q, from his perspective, because he's just allowing her to express herself. What I found with this movie was that I had a lot of questions at the end, throughout and at the end, but my questions took different forms as I proceeded to watch the movie, as I went through it. For example, at first, as I'm watching it, why do people act this way? Why do they behave in a certain way? But as the movie sort of went towards the end or finishing, and even after the movie, I did wonder, why did I think this family was so dysfunctional? Was it because they did not fit in with the standard norms of the society, with the norms that I have in mind? But then, if that's the case, what makes a family functional? Or does a happy, functional family exist? Do we have a functional, happy family, or is it just an illusion? Could it be that we cannot be happy if we are doing everything that the society wants us to do? Could it be that we need our weirdness and our uniqueness to work in harmony? We need to embrace those things, because what we see in this movie is that Visitor Q seems to help this family embrace their uniqueness. And at the end of the movie, the child no longer hits his mum. She stands up for herself. Dad does what he wants without having to hide things. And the girl comes back. So it does make one wonder what the concept of happy, functional family means, and does it actually exist? Let me take you back to the first scene that I said we'd go back to. The scene where the daughter is having sex with her dad. Dad wants to have sex with her. He's clearly turned on by her, and she's happy to have sex with him. But he keeps saying it's wrong. The fact that it's wrong does not stop him from having sex, and does not make him perhaps less turned on. maybe even more turned on. So maybe people do what they want anyway. So
チータン動物園でアライグマの
奥さん
赤ちゃんが生まれるのは初めてです。
氷もらえます？
子供たちに囲まれ、園内の新しいアイドルとして人気を集めています。
可愛いですね。
ちょっとでいいんで。
では最初のニュースです。
先日の懇談会での
everybody has got their own weirdness and uniqueness that is perhaps not pleasant to the society. And what I found really interesting about this movie was that every single member of the family became so happy after they started to embrace their weirdness. And after it was just out in the open, so instead of hiding it from themselves or from each other, they were just openly weird. And it made them very happy. You could see it in Mom, the mom who was very timid at the start of the movie or throughout the movie, and again used to get beaten up by her son. She starts to stand up for herself. She smiles a lot more. She talks. She's much more happy. So to me, I guess this movie challenged my perspective and perception of a happy family. Does a happy family need to be a functional family? Or can a happy family be a dysfunctional family? It also made me question another thing. Can I be visitor Q? Can I really be indifferent to other people and how people live? And before you say that you can be visitor Q, I dare you to sit through every single scene, and there are many uncomfortable scenes in this movie, and I dare you to sit through them and do so without judging the characters and without the urge to interfere. If you can do that, great, you're already visitor Q. But if you're like me, you keep cringing and turning away and questioning characters and wondering why people don't do certain things or do certain things, then perhaps we are part of the society that just encourages or that promotes the illusion of a happy family having to be a functional family. So perhaps many of us are already in happy families. We're just dysfunctional, like this family. Before I go, my question is, have you watched this movie? And if you have, what were your thoughts and would you recommend it?